Hello world! Welcome to Learning Java, one byte at a time. This is video 26 in a tutorial series geared at bringing the wonderful wide world of Java to those with little or no programming experience. Now in the last video we wrote the code for the vehicle class for the Booker vehicle appraisal application that we're going to be developing over the next several videos. And in this video we're going to write a small unit test to test the class file to see that it actually produces vehicle objects in the way that we expect before we move forward with the rest of the application development. So in doing this, we're going to actually just set up a small test class file and use that to create the vehicle object. And then we're going to use the toString method of the object to just print the property to the screen. And if that happens correctly, then I'll feel confident that the vehicle class actually works and we can move forward with the rest of the application development. So if we jump over here to the Notepad++, you'll see we have open already the vehicle class that we wrote in the last one. And I have also a blank test.java file that we're going to use to write a test class. So first we need to go ahead and let it know that it's part of the Booker package. And then we'll declare the class as follows. We'll just name the class test for simplicity. And then we'll need to declare the vehicle object that we're going to be working with. So this will be a static, because we're not going to be instantiating this. We're just going to be calling this vehicle from this very class. And it's going to be a vehicle object. We'll name it vehicle just for simplicity, and we'll set it equal to, and then using the new keyword, an instantiation of a vehicle. And then we need to go ahead and start passing through the arguments that will become the properties of this vehicle. So we'll pick a name, we'll call it test. The make, we'll say it's a Nissan. The model will be Altima. And the base cost, we'll say it's $34,000. After that, we'll pick a year, we'll say it's a 2001, and the transmission, we'll give it an automatic transmission, and the drive, we'll say it's a front-wheel drive. Next, we'll set the Boolean values for the airbags, which will be true for airbags, we'll say false for ABS, and we'll say true for the rear view camera. And then after that, we're going to set the grade, which we'll just say it's a performance grade. Just kind of coming up with all of this off the top of my head just for testing purposes. And then after that we need to declare the mileage, which we'll just say it's got 100,000 miles on it. It's going to have two previous owners, and then for the booleans for the luxury features we'll say that it it does not have keyless entry, it does have premium sound, and it does not have GPS navigation. Alright, after that we will declare this as a, let's say a sport vehicle, a sport class, and then it has no accident history, and the commission we'll just say is 5%. So that should be good enough to construct the vehicle. And just for readability, I'm going to bring some of this down. Again, Java doesn't care about white space, so it's better for it to be readable. Alright, I like it. So now that we've declared the vehicle object, we'll have an entry point, which will be our public static void main, and the obligatory string array args. And then inside this main class, we will simply do a system out print line, and we'll print this vehicle object and call the toString method. Alright, so, and actually just for fun, just to make sure that one or two of the getters and setters are working, let's also do vehicle.setName. I think it's actually set vehicle name. And we'll change the name from test to test2. And set vehicle commission. And we'll change the commission to 10%. And then just to see that the setters worked, we'll do another print line with the vehicle to string, like so. Alright, so let's see if at least we get some basic functionality out of this. We'll save this file, jump over here to the command prompt, and we will compile it with the javac command, the -d and the dot to tell it is part of a package. That way it compiles both files together as a package, and star.java will compile both Java files in the directory. And it looks like everything works. Then we'll go ahead and run it. And since it is a package, we need to name the package file Booker dot, and it's going to be the test class. Alright, now what the heck happened here? I see Booker.vehicle at some address, it looks like. So what's going on here? How come we didn't get the properties of the vehicle? Well, the reason being is that the toString method is actually part of the object class, and the vehicle, since it is an object, inherits everything from the object class, including the toString method. But if we don't specify what the toString method is supposed to do when we use it on the vehicle class, Java doesn't know any better than to actually just use the original toString method, which in Java will actually print the name of the class that the object is a member of, and then a hexadecimal value that ends up being the hash code equal to the class if it were to hash out the property of the class. And so you can actually see that over here. Come down here, and I brought up the docs on oracle.com, and it has the toString method of the object class, and it basically says that if we were to use this correctly, it should return a string representation of the object. In general, the toString method returns a string that textually represents this object, so that could mean anything depending on what the object is. Now what's more, you can also see that it tells us the result should be concise but informative representation that it's easy for a person to read. It's recommended that all subclasses override this method. And so what we failed to do is we failed to override the method, and because we didn't override it to provide our version of what a textual representation should be, it went with the initial version, which is just to name the class that the object's a member of, and then to give a hexadecimal value of the hash code. And a hash code is just a way of coming up with a unique numerical identifier for any particular object. And so we got a bunch of gibberish instead of getting what we want. So we have to go back to the vehicle object, or rather the vehicle class, and we need to override the toString method, and we need to put in our version of what a textual representation of this vehicle or what this particular object should be, which in our case is just going to be a list of all of the attributes. And so if we jump back over here to our vehicle class, let's come down here and write one more method, and this method is going to be an overriding method. And since it's going to be overriding a method, we're going to use an annotation to tell Java that we are overriding. And what we're going to override is going to be the public. It's going to return a string variable, and it is the toString method. The reason we have to use the annotation is because this method actually already exists, and we're telling Java we know that this toString method already exists in all objects, but in this particular class of object, we're going to override the original version of the toString, and we're going to return something a little bit different. And so that's going to be a string, which is going to be a concatenation of literal strings that will name the attributes of the vehicle concatenated with the actual values of the vehicle. And so we can kind of do that like this. We'll just do a literal quote. I'm going to use the /n to tell it to do a new line after every single attribute. And we'll just start from the very top. So we'll do the name and concatenate that with the let's see, the vehicle name. If I got that right. And then we'll do another new line, and we'll do make, and concatenate that with the vehicle make, and so on and so forth until we actually get through all of the properties of the vehicle. And this will give us a more readable textual representation of this object. And there are quite a few properties with this object, so this is going to take just a minute here, but we'll go through all of them. So let's say we've got the drive. I'm do a new line here. Again, Java doesn't care about white space, so we can format this in a way that makes it readable. So after the drive, then it's going to be the the Boolean value. So the airbags. And then it's going to be the, let's see, after airbags was the ABS. And then it was going to be the rear view camera. And let's see, after that, it was going to be, I think it was the grade. And then the mileage. And let's see, after the mileage, then we get into the next Boolean values, which, oh, actually no, after the mileage it was the previous owners. And then we have the Boolean luxury values, which is going to be keyless entry, and you can see I'm using the new line formatter after every literal text value here. So it'll be just this this vertical list of all of the attributes. And after keyless entry, we are on premium sound. And then I believe it was GPS navigation. And after that, it was going to be the class. And after the class, it was going to be, I believe, accident history. And as you can see, all I'm doing is just typing literal text that's going to be printed to the screen, and then I'm just appending, or I'm concatenating the actual values of whichever vehicle object is in question. I'm just making this very, very long string that's going to be returned whenever we call the toString method. And then the last one is going to be the commission, like so. So here I have just a very, very long string, several literal text strings and several concatenations, and it's all going to be returned as a string as an overriding of the toString method for this particular type of object, so that when we call the toString method, it will actually return this instead of just the typical toString method of objects, which is the name of the class and the hexadecimal version of its hash value. So, of course, we can't forget to save the file, so let's be sure that this is saved. Our test file is still saved, and that works. We can jump back into our command prompt. Let's jump into the Booker directory very quickly, and we're going to delete all of the class files that were previously compiled. Then we'll bounce back, and we will compile it again as a package, like so. Alright, and it looks like it worked. The only way to know for sure is to run it, booker.test class. Alright, so perfect. So what we have here is what we expected now. So we have a list of the literal text that we passed through, as well as the values. The name is test, it's a Nissan Altima, $34,000, 2001 model, automatic, front wheel drive, has airbags, has no ABS, it does have rear view camera, it's a performance grade, 100,000 miles, 2 owners, false, true, false, sport, false, and 0.5 commission. And then the second one is after having used the setter methods to change the name to test2, and then to change the commission to 10%. And so this looks like it worked. I'm going to say that this vehicle class is functioning the way that we want it to. And so that's great news. So I'm going to call it good for this video. This was actually quite a lot, even though I know we've only made one step into a very long journey here, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So just want to say thank you so much for watching, and can't wait to get to this end of this project. In the next one, we're going to start to write the advertisement class, which will be in charge of generating the sales ads. And we're going to sort of write the class files from the back front. We're going to kind of back into this app, and eventually we're going to find ourselves at the point to where we're going to be taking care of the model view controller, and we'll kind of tie everything together. And I think that at that point you'll see how all of this is going to work. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see everyone back again in the next video, and have a wonderful night.